Alright guys, in the last video, we used the snapshot of the activated route to read the route parameter. But this approach has a drawback. In this video, I'm going to explain what the drawback is and also how to overcome that drawback. In our application right now, we always navigate to the department detail component from the department list component. Let's improve on this. Let's add a previous and a next button in the department detail component to go back and forth between the different departments. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and in the department detail component, I'm going to add two new anchor tags. One for previous and one for next. When we click on the previous link, we need to move back a department. And when we click on next, we need to go to the next department. So we should be listening to the click event on these two anchor tags. Click and then assign a handler, go previous. Similarly, click and then assign a handler, go next. Alright, now to navigate from code, recollect that we need the router service. So we made use of the router service in department list component to navigate from code. Let's do the same in department detail component. Import router from the router package and then inject it. So in the constructor, private router of type router. Now let's define the go previous and go next methods. Go previous. First, declare a variable, let previous id. Then this is going to be equal this dot department id minus 1. This dot department id gives us the current id, and then we subtract 1 from it to get the previous id. Once we have the previous id, we pass it as a parameter in the navigate method on the router service. This dot router dot navigate slash departments comma previous id. Similarly, let's also define go next. Replace go previous with go next, previous id with next id, and then instead of subtracting 1, we are going to add 1. Alright, now let's save this and test it out. Let's go back to the browser, go to localhost 4200, click on Angular, we get id is equal to 1. Click on Node, we get id is equal to 2. Now I click on Next, but the id did not change. You can see that the URL updated to /3, but the view did not update the id. This is the drawback of the snapshot approach. When we are navigating from one component back to the same component, the snapshot approach will not work. And here's the reason why. Angular is going to figure out if it needs to initialize a new component or it can reuse the same component. When we navigate back to the same component, Angular simply reuses the component. No initialization implies that the ng-on-init method does not get called, and hence the new id will never be retrieved from the URL. So to overcome this, we use the paramMap observable. Let's take a look at the code. I'm going to comment out the snapshot approach so that you can still have a look if required. Instead, we have an instance of the activated route, so this dot route, and then we call the paramMap method. This returns an observable. We get the data only if we subscribe to it, so dot subscribe. The argument to the subscribe method is an arrow function. The observable provides us with the parameters which we strong type to paramMap. And this paramMap is from the router package, so make sure to import it. The paramMap API provides us with a get method to retrieve the ID parameter. So in the body of the arrow function, let ID is equal to parseInt so that we get an integer, and params.get, and what is the parameter? ID. And then assign the ID to the department ID. This .department ID is equal to ID. Now, anytime the parameter value changes, even when navigating back to the same component, the paramMap observable can detect and read it. So let's save this and see if it works. Let's go back to the browser. I click on departments, click on Angular, department with ID is equal to 1. Click on node, you select a department with ID is equal to 2. If I click on next, you can see that the URL is now /3, and then the view also updated ID is equal to 3. I click on next again, ID is equal to 4. I click on previous, ID is equal to 3. Again, ID is equal to 2. So this is how you read parameter values using the param observable. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.